Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry for not being present with all of you there. I had been looking forward to attending this conference very much, but these things happen sometimes. I've had to stay back at the campus. I am very glad, though, that we are sharing this video on our experience, and I'm hoping to have some interesting live interaction at the end of this video. Today, we will begin by having a very brief glance at the University of the South Pacific and look at the university in 2008 as providing the context for a very significant journey of reforms and restructuring. Look at what had to be done almost immediately during the 2008 and 9 period. Then using those initial achievements to construct a strategic plan for 2010 to 12, which was mainly about consolidating the university's activities, and then using the success of that strategic plan and the confidence that the university gained from that to develop a much more ambitious and visionary strategic plan 2013 to 2018, which focused very much on an agenda of transformation from good to excellent. We will look at a number of reforms, governance reform. We'll look at the redesign of the senior management team, look at academic reforms, financial reforms, and HR reforms. We will examine the impact of these reforms in both hard and soft terms, and hopefully we'll have some conclusions. The University of the South Pacific was established in 1968 and is one of 2 regional universities in the world. It is like any other normal university, but it also has a very strong regional role as a regional organization and a member of the Council of Regional Organizations of the Pacific. It is spread over 33 million square kilometers, and we operate 14 campuses and 11 centers in 12 Pacific Island member countries. Like any university, it has a range of faculties and is fairly comprehensive university, and it has institutes and centers. It has a vibrant technical, vocational and further education unit, as well as a College of Foundation Studies. It is a medium-sized university with about 26,600 students, growing at an average of 6% per annum. And we're very pleased that more than half of our students are women. Over these 48 years, we have produced a large number of graduates who are our contributing alumni in the region. And the university's major focus is on quality and accreditation in learning, teaching, and research. This just shows the very large geographical area that we cover. As a regional organization, we have lead responsibility for ICT, as well as human resource development, and we chair the working groups in those. The 2015 income was 188 million Fijian dollars. Income was evenly spread between tuition income, development assistance, and government contribution, roughly between 26% and 28%, with a small amount of trading income and other income. 2015 produced some good results for us with an operating surplus, positive net cash flow, as well as addition to our assets. And by and large, the university has had a very successful history in recent times in ensuring that the budget is met, and in nearly every case producing final results much better than budgeted. You see that our membership is made up of micro-states and small states, serving combined land area of 64,000 square kilometers, a population base of 2.3 million, government contribution amounting to about 50 million, with, as we said, about 26,000 students, and graduating about 4,000 students a year, with about 1,569 staff. Now, 2008, we had very significant problems that provide the context for the very significant journey of reform and re-engineering that we have been undertaking ever since. As you can see, this is the finance ministers of USP member countries. They were being asked to investigate financial problems at the university, and their strong message was that USP was living beyond its means. We had financial deficits, declining enrollment, and the message from the member countries was that the university had a bloated cost structure, that the member countries were not prepared for the university to continue in that vein, and essentially the challenge from them was how to deal with the cost structure and give more assurance to the regional countries that the university was using its resources more wisely. We had reputational loss as a result of scandals. The trust between the Vice-Chancellor and the Council was lost. The Council withdrew a number of the Vice-Chancellor's powers after the Vice-Chancellor left. The development partners were putting their aid on hold because they were not quite sure whether the university was dealing with these problems. The academic staff and senior management had a very fractious relationship. And essentially, there was a serious breakdown in systems and processes. At the same time, there was a rise in national universities which unnerved the university in terms of what its future might look like in a very ambiguous higher education landscape. So in 2008 and 2009, we had to do some quite bold things. We had to curtail expenditure to bring the budget into certainly avoid deficit. The Budget Deficit Reduction Committee intensified its work. We realized that significant savings could not be achieved without really looking at the budget formula. So that was changed in a very robust way, reflecting workload. We had some very intensive consultations about possible salary cuts, rationalized the faculties from 4 to 3, began a longer-term process of course rationalization, and we had acceptance of major redundancies and attrition as a way of ensuring that the university could get out of its problem. With the success we had, we developed the strategic plan for 2010 to 12, first putting the university on a new triennium because that had been lost previously. The intention of this plan was really to get the university back on a sustained basis so that governments have more confidence and staff and students have more confidence about its future. Given the nervousness of governments and the global financial crisis, we declared to the governments that their contributions will not be increased. We focused very much on quality and relevance to make sure that in the emerging tertiary education landscape, the university had a more premier and differentiated space. We wanted to embed the university a lot more in national and regional development, and of course promote its reputation. The next strategic plan built on that platform of greater achievement and greater confidence. So the plan was much more ambitious, much more aspirational, and the theme that ran through that was from good to excellence. It adopted a strong mindset of continuous improvement through reforms and re-engineering. adopted international accreditation of programs as a key element of quality. It spent resources to bolster its regional campuses to ensure equity and consistency in learning. And it committed the university to a significant increase in the scale, scale, relevance, and impact of research. And essentially wanted to embed the university much more in the national and regional development. The first set of reforms, given the difficulties, had to be on governance. So the governing instruments of the charter and statutes were reviewed and changed. The roles of the Pro-Chancellor and Deputy Chair of Council were also reformulated. The statute dealing with the Vice-Chancellor and President was reviewed, and the clarification became much clearer between governance and management. A search committee was established for the appointment of the Pro-Chancellor and other key members of Council. Extensive delegations were formalized, and on the whole governance of the university was improved. We knew that the success of the university will depend on the quality of its academic offerings. We also knew that rather than try and improve this piecemeal, it was much better to conceive of a grand project, a grand design. And we came up with the total strategic academic review, which was essentially asking that we go back to the drawing board in terms of the programs we offered and the continued relevance and innovation, and the policies we had and the way we organized our academic activities. We signaled the intention to have intentional curriculum, graduate attributes all specified, and then embedded into the curriculum. We wanted to see assessment become the center of learning. We expanded the degree program in terms of courses from 20 to 24 to introduce 4 compulsory university-wide courses to give the university special branding and relevance to our labor markets. And we began a very robust and major program of eliminating courses that were low in demand, that could not be accommodated, and some of which were being catered for by national institutions. In the finance area, of course, there was a lot of focus on finance because that is what the ministers picked up first. We explored outsourcing, and you can see that we outsourced grass cutting, dining hall, etc. We partially outsourced some services. And now we have adopted a very strong future position about outsourcing major services like ITS and finance. But of course, we will do that prudently, learning from our initial experience and the learning we get from other universities that have tried that. In financial reforms, this slide and the next show just how big the change was and how big is the aspiration. So we moved from unsustainable funding with deficits to a fairly good record of operating surpluses, creating sustainability, using industry benchmarks, which is strategically driven. But the future ambition is, of course, to exceed those targets and to come more in line with international norms, as well as further diversify our income. The same thing applies to processes, reporting, providing very clear frameworks, providing delegations, promoting accountability, and rewarding performance. But above all, really trying to lift our vision and lift our performance so that we are making the best and wisest use of the scarce resources that we get. HR, of course, lies at the core of any university, and we have had reviews during that period, But the more interesting thing is that we have adopted a approach of getting a reputable HR company to come in and not only recommend but help set up our systems with the priority on aligning HR to our strategic plan ambitions, promoting accountability, promoting customer service, looking at productivity increase. Of course, universities generally shy away from that, but we have to get into a culture of awareness of our productivity and really looking at improving that productivity on a continuous basis. Communication is very important, so we are promoting that. Staff capability is very important, and so is resilience in terms of being able to deal with unexpected events. Important areas of work include a very major commitment to automation. And as Vice-Chancellor, I'm really asking our systems to automate as much as possible so that we can get our staff to do higher level, more intellectually challenging work. We are using international benchmarks and ratios to properly resource our HR. We are building our capacity in the regional campuses to support HR. We are recreating or strengthening the key elements of talent acquisition and management, workplace relations, conflict management, and overall HR operations. Now, what have been the main impacts of these reforms and re-engineering? Well, in this slide, the main thing that I want to focus on is the fact that government contributions have remained static in nominal terms. You will see that in the thick blue line second from the bottom. And you'll see that we have remained at about 50 million from 2007. Our total income, however, which is the brown graph at the top, just below the red one, you will see that we have had a significant increase in total income without really asking the governments for any increase until 2016. In that same period, you will see that we have sustained steady growth in our enrollment. We have increased our degree completions, and essentially, we have managed to do more with much better, more intensive use of our resources. We have used our resources. This is the floor space where you see that we have maintained our floor space roughly to the earlier levels, but we have seen a big increase in our enrollments. You will see that in FTEs terms we have moved up, but if you look at the head counts, the change is more dramatic. We have constantly produced operating surpluses that have given us the opportunity to invest. We have two dips, 2010 and 13. We have salary increases in triennia, so the 10 and 13 represent the triennia. And in 13, we had an accounting change. But otherwise, we have a record of producing good financial outcomes. We have increased our fixed assets in that period. And we have had a very dramatic increase in our overall development assistance. You can see 2009, we were just over 20 million, and we have moved up to around 50 million now. And I will argue that a good deal of this is because of the confidence the development partners have had because of what the university has been able to do. And here you have the Australian Senator Brett Mason's speech where he indicates that the university has improved its reputation over this period. This is a very significant achievement for a small country, and it shows why the Australian government has been a very major donor and partner for us. The same sentiments are echoed by the New Zealand government, by the Asian Development Bank, and by our leaders. Here are some statements by the Samoan Prime Minister who opened our council just in May. Our international engagement has moved up very significantly. As you can see, as an indicator, the MOUs signed have gone from 47 in 10, then decline in 11, then on to 80 in 2015. Now, as we reflect on our journey, I'd like to say that the crisis that USP faced was very much about its future. It had unnerved the staff and students. People were not quite sure what would happen in the light of increasing number of national universities. So the crisis called for fairly bold and significant changes and articulation of a view about tertiary education in the region that would carve an appropriate place for the university and national institutions. I think our real success was that we did not just want to fix the immediate problems of budget deficit, but we wanted to take a longer term view, and we correctly figured out that it was much easier in a time of problems to undertake some very major changes, which would be more difficult as the problems got resolved. When we found that the staff were feeling a little bit edgy about why they need to keep on changing because the budget deficit had been under control, the university was getting to be successful, we had to basically say that long term the university's future required a lot more changes. And we basically adopted strategies like starting the STAR project, making very big changes to our budget model. I think figured out that communications and engagement were very important. So we managed to change a great deal, but we have carried the staff with us. So we've got some good ratings in the voice survey. Finally, I want to leave you with this thought that while we are happy with the many changes that we have brought about at the university, and clearly the university is in a much better position today, the fact is that internationally we are now living in the world that is changing ever more rapidly. And there's very little predictability about where the world might head to. Therefore, we want to begin to reflect on how do we undertake the next round of reforms so that USP can anticipate the future of higher education and carve out a good role for itself, not only in the region, but globally. Thank you very much. Binaka Bakalebu. Dhanyabad.